Okay, we're good to go, Rhonda.
Okay, welcome everyone to our council meeting this Tuesday, February the 2nd. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If everyone would please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. Motion to confirm the agenda. Moved by Daryl, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose it now or as the meeting goes along. Before we get into the meeting, I'd like to welcome and introduce Susanna, our planner from the county, and she's going to be working with Perth East now. So welcome, Susanna. It's great to have you aboard.
Thank you very much.
Okay, consent items. We have 21 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have pulled or ask questions? Daryl?
5.111.
5.111. Okay. Anyone else? Jerry?
It doesn't necessarily have to be pulled, but maybe it could. It's 5.1.3, our minutes from our budget meeting. It's a question about the motions that we passed.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so Jerry, maybe you can ask your question and we'll hopefully have the answer.
Sure. So the motion is on page 21, the BGT 21-09. The report coming back for the library, possible position there. Just curious as when we're going to receive that. Is that going to be at a regular meeting or the budget meeting? The budget meeting is not the 25th. Just curious because there are, North Perth is advertising for a full-time CAO at this time. Just like to see whether we get that going sooner rather than later. So just curious when that report's coming and whether it's regular or budget.
Teresa, do you want to give an update on that?
Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay, so the intention was that it would be referred back to the library committee because that's where the motion originated. That being said, actually, for the upcoming library board meeting on the 9th, there's the intention that myself, as well as our HR consultant, will be meeting with the board on the 9th. So, but at this point, it is going forward to the budget committee, unless there's other direction.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Work, Jerry. Okay, so we need a motion to accept all the items but 5.11. Moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Daryl, would you like to speak to 5.11?
Yeah, no, it's some trying times here with 5.111 there with North Glengarry there. I feel their concerns, and I as well believe the methodology that the province and the powers above, if you would, are not cutting it around small businesses and schools for that matter. And I'd like to see a support, and I believe at this point we as council should chop up something here, and we as Perth East bring our concerns. And I'm wondering if there's any other council members here have any comment on this. Yes, the county has struck off and asked for the methodology, what the province is using. I'm confused. Our citizens are confused. Nothing's making sense. And I believe we as Perth East have to show our concerns for our community.
Okay, so you would like to move that we support the resolution?
Support, and that we draft up a letter to the Premier's office and the health of Ontario.
Okay, so Daryl has moved. Do we have a seconder for that?
So, sorry, I just had a question for Daryl.
Okay.
What are you asking the letter to say, Daryl? Just
Well,
kind of elaborate on what this letter says, or
I
the spin on it, or what's the?
a little bit of a spin. I'll tell you here, for the province to refocus their efforts to target the vulnerable citizens who COVID-19 affect. We know who they are. We know where it is. We know that there isn't one child yet in the province has died from COVID-19 or severely sick for that matter. It's so confusing. And yes, for the province to refocus their efforts to the vulnerable citizens and for the rest of us to open up. My phone never stops ringing from 3 counties now because they've seen my name that I seem to speak out. I have a business association from Huron County who's reached out to me. They're beside themselves. They're on Lake Huron and they don't know what they're going to do. They're frustrated, they're beside themselves. And we, I believe, yes, we need to advocate to the province to refocus their efforts on the targeted and on the citizens where COVID-19 affects, and that's the elderly, and they know that. And even within the elderly, a mass majority of them come out of this.
Okay, so we've had Daryl move that. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Amanda? Is there any more questions or comments on what Daryl wishes to have done? Andrew?
Yeah, no, I've been hearing quite a bit of, I'd use the word pain, maybe, especially from businesses. And now with, and I don't profess to be any expert in medicine or what's going on, but again, we do need to speak as far as the recent decisions with the school opening and not opening. Like I'm 3 kilometers away from an area that's open and ours isn't, right? So I think there, Councillor Harrell hit it right. There is some confusion. So if we can move something that will bring some clarity and a response from the province or whatever, and exactly why the decisions are being made the way they are. Yeah, I definitely support some type of action.
Okay, Amanda?
Just to add to that, I've been following what the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses has been saying. I think really that letter should really focus on the fact that there isn't a clear reopening strategy in Ontario compared to the other provinces, where we're seeing, you know, a bit of a strategy in terms of opening up and also with schools. So I would support Councillor Herlich's motion and look forward to seeing the letter, and if at all possible, if the letter could be distributed to council by email, I think that would be appreciated.
Okay. Anyone else? So the motion is to send a letter of support to Glengarry's 5.1.11 and also send that letter to the Premier and the Health Department. Is that correct, Daryl?
With us writing our own letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sure, I still strongly recommend that the province refocus their efforts and that this has to go to the COVID related issues, has to be focused in on the vulnerable citizens only, which is our elderly, not everybody. This cannot continue.
Okay, all in favor of that motion? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations. We do have public meetings. Our first public meeting is, I declare this virtual public meeting to be open. This virtual public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Don Borison, care of 4052595 Canada Inc., part of Lot 3, Concession 4, Ellis Ward, 4501 Perth Line 44, Route 2, Gads Hill. This virtual meeting is an opportunity for the township to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering adoption of an implementing bylaw. If a bylaw is adopted to implement the zoning amendment, a notice of passing will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the adoption of the bylaw may be filed with the clerk not later than the date stated on the notice. Any person attending this meeting who wishes to receive written notice of a bylaw passed to implement the amendment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk following this meeting. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested by email following the meeting. Due to COVID-19, public meeting procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, February 1, 2021 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. I will now call on Louisa, planner, to present the planning report and recommendations. Louisa,
Thank
the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Mayor Eggetts and members of council. I'd be happy to provide a brief summary of this application, Z17-2020, concerning the lands municipally known as 4109 Line 39. The property owner has submitted this zoning bylaw amendment application to satisfy a standard condition of approval that was imposed by the County of Perth relating to County of Perth consent application B4620. This application was to sever a residence deemed surplus to a consolidated farm operation. County of Perth application number 46, B4620, was approved by the county's manager of planning through the delegated authority granted pursuant to County of Perth bylaw 3761-2020. Consent application B4620 resulted in the provisional creation of this severed surplus farm dwelling lot with an area of just over 3,000 square meters or 0.75 acres and a retained farm lot of 42 hectares, approximately 103.8 acres. The drafted bylaw rezones the severed surplus farm dwelling and retained farmland in the necessary zones in the Perth zoning bylaw in accordance with county policy requirements and satisfies the condition of consent from Perth County consent application number B4620. No comments have been received from the public in opposition of this proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and comments received with respect to the proposed land use were received during the consent application process and were either negligible or minor in nature. That concludes my brief summary of this application. I am available to answer any questions of council or the public should there be any.
Okay, thanks, Louisa. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. The applicant or the applicant's agent did not register to speak in respect to the application. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing no questions, council will consider a resolution regarding the plan and report recommendation following the conclusion of the virtual public meeting. Bylaw number 27-2020 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. Okay, now we'll move to our second public meeting. This public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Ryan Frey, care of 2142945, part of Lot 9, Concession 14, Mornington Ward, 8082, Road 129, Route 3, Listowel. And I'm not going to read all the preamble because it's the same as the last one, and I'm going to jump right to Michelle. So Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, Mayor Eggetts, good evening, and good evening, members of council. So the zoning bylaw amendment application before you is seeking relief from the zoning bylaw in order to amend an existing site-specific zone applied to the subject property in order to permit a proposed expansion of the existing farm equipment manufacturing company, which is identified as Horst Welding. In addition, the application also seeks to acknowledge the legal non-conforming use of snow removal equipment manufacturing and repair as an accessory use. So I'm just going to share my screen so that I can show you the area of the subject lands. Is everyone able to see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as you can see, the subject property is located at the corner of Perth Line 86 and Road 129 with frontage along Road 129. The property is 30 hectares in size and currently contains 3 single-story industrial buildings, outdoor storage areas, and a surface parking area. So I'll just, sorry to jump around, but I'll just go down to the schedule. And so as you can see, a majority of the site is zoned agriculture, with a portion of the property zoned agriculture, commercial industrial zone with special provision 31, ACM-31. There's also a portion of the property that is zoned natural resource environment 2, just to the south of the property. So the scope of this application involves the expansion of the lands within this ACM-31 zone to encompass a portion of the lands currently zoned agriculture to the north and west in order to accommodate the proposed expansion and acknowledge the legal non-conforming uses that I mentioned. So I'll go to the site plan drawing that was submitted with the application. It just gives more context on what is being proposed. So the specific amendments include a new ACM-31 zoned area. So on this drawing, this shaded area would be the new expansion of the ACM-31 zone. So currently that zone only encompasses this portion of the lands. And so the new area proposed is approximately 13.4 hectares, whereas the existing related site-specific zoning currently permits 7.2 hectares. In addition, a maximum gross floor area of approximately 22,000 square meters is currently proposed, whereas the site-specific only permits 11,000 square meters. So it's about double what currently exists. And 190 parking spaces are currently proposed, and just in this area here, whereas the site-specific zoning currently permits a minimum of 129 parking spaces. So by way of background as well, I will note that the history of the subject lands and the evolution of the size of the use was subject to site plan control and previous zoning bylaw amendments in 2002, 2003, 2007, and 2013 most recently to allow for expansions to the use of the land. So I will just go to the report photo that was included with the 2013 zoning bylaw amendment application. And so the area of land zoned that was initially zoned ACM-31 was initially 3.7 hectares, and the permitted gross floor area was 6,800. And so at the time, this area here was what was being proposed to be added to the ACM-31 zone. And now this area along here is proposed to be added to this area today. So as part of planning staff's analysis of the application, the existing applicable policy framework, comments from the public, and applicable agencies were considered. As I mentioned, the lands are designated agriculture within the County of Perth official plan, and this designation makes provisions for farm-related commercial and industrial uses such as this that offer services which the predominant amount of activity is primarily and directly related to meeting agriculture and farming requirements, which are necessary and within close proximity of farming operations. And further, prior to the establishment of such uses, the applicant would be required to satisfy the local municipality that a location in the agriculture designation is necessary and appropriate. In addition, there is a requirement for further consideration for the availability of alternative locations in nearby settlement areas, the availability of alternative locations having soil capabilities for agriculture, and also the possible reuse of other non-farm use properties in the vicinity. So where the applicant satisfies council in that regard, the farm-related commercial industrial use may be permitted subject to a variety of factors. And so to not go through in detail all of them, just a summary of some of these factors include the size of the operation, on-site servicing, road access, drainage, and the provision of site plan and the site plan agreement. And so given the establishment of the establishment and existence of this use for a number of years, the noted criteria has been considered through the previous applications that I've made reference to. So in reviewing this application, consideration has been made to the criteria as it relates to the expansion. And just in recognition of the already established use of these lands since the early 90s, which predates this existing zoning bylaw. So public notice was also provided and no comments were received from the public. The application was also circulated to various applicable agencies, and comments from the Grand River Conservation Authority were received, which are included in this report as Schedule F, I believe. And so the GRCA noted that they have no objections to the application. And as part of their comments, they also noted in sort of an advisory capacity, the following, which I'll just read. So they noted that the site plan accompanying the current application does not identify any stormwater management strategies for the subject lands. Given the additional impervious lands proposed, GRCA staff recommends the township review the proposal to determine if some level of stormwater management is required. So planning staff are of the opinion that the desired changes to the site plan are significant enough to require an amendment to the site plan and site plan agreement in accordance with the applicable policy that I outlined and agency comments in order to appropriately address this additional impervious land that is proposed and within the agriculture area. So it is recommended that the bylaw included in this report as Schedule D be approved, which provide for the inclusion of a holding symbol be applied to the subject lands and remain until such time that the existing site plan is amended to reflect the proposed expansion of the existing use. So that concludes my my summary of this application, but should there be any questions from council members, I am available to take them.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Brian Shantz, the agent, has registered to speak on behalf of the application. So Brian, if you're with us, the floor is yours. Are you there, Brian?
He is, Rhonda. He's just on mute. So if we can give him a second until he's unmuted.
Okay. Brian, are you there? Okay, we will move on to questions from members of council. Anyone have questions? Daryl?
Yeah, no, great work there, planner. You explained everything awesome. I applaud you. That was good. Could you talk about the holding cell again? And was there something about the fence? I'm flip-flopping here back and forth. It's a lot to digest. And the recommendations. you made it recommendations. Do they have to do what you were saying there with regards to the stormwater?
Yeah, so as part of the previous site plan that was submitted, there was a requirement to identify how servicing was to be considered. And given that this expansion is adding just so much more land, that's something that would be a major consideration of the site plan application process. And this was also something that was identified by the GRCA as well.
So it's mandatory is what you're saying at this point for the changes.
Through your worship, yes, it is mandatory, yes.
Okay, anyone else with any questions? You?
This might be a question more for our planner. On page 98 of this report, section 2.1, they ask for mortgage holders, and they ask for that on a lot of variances and a lot of other things. And I'd just like to know how in this day and age you can ask for that type of information, considering it's going to be made public, and really that is private information. So if somebody can answer, and I just happened to grab that out of this report, but they're in all the reports.
Okay, who would like to answer that question? Pierre?
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, this is a standard requirement and typical for any application. And I believe it's, I could be wrong, but I believe it's legislated through the Planning Act to identify any mortgages that apply. Particularly, this is important when we're doing things like easements or applying agreements, site plan agreement in this instance. We need to know whether there is a mortgagee on the property, because they will be party to that same agreement or easement. They'll need to either provide postponements or whatnot. So it is a standard requirement. It's on every application. I think it's perhaps where we may change things, but it's out of my hands, is including the application form with our reports. That may not be typically required, but it is a public document once it is filed with the municipality, so anybody could ask for it.
Okay, thanks, Pierre. Okay, and Jerry? You
Yeah, just a quick one, not for the planners, for Public Works for West. I know we did some work there on 129 right up to the intersection of 86. How's that holding out there? It could be a few more trucks. It is a
Can you
busy.
hear me now?
How's the road holding up?
Yeah, it's fine. We did the road reconstruction and we put extra asphalt on there. The road is in good condition.
Good, thank you.
Okay, I think Brian has joined us now. Brian, do you have some comments you wish to make about this application?
Are you able to hear me at this point?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I can hardly hear you for whatever reason, and I'm not muted, and my volume is up. Good evening, everyone. I am Brian Shantz from Brian Shantz Limited in Waterloo. We are the authorized agent for the owner. It's a numbered company and owned by Ryan Fry. We're here in support of the application. Your retained planner has presented the information relative to this application very well. It's being brought forward by a multi-generational family, and they're looking to expand their business at some point in the future. They need to have an understanding if they can do this moving forward. It's been addressing the provincial policy statements, the County of Perth official plan, Town of Perth East bylaw, and there's no objections, as your planner had stated, and the GRCA has responded. They have no objections. Their only comment, which is very standard, is that stormwater management needs to be done, and that'll be part of any site plan application being brought forward. The retained planner has stated that the requested changes are significant enough to require an amendment to the site plan. We don't disagree with that. Based on her concern about the increased impervious area, however, stormwater management is an automatic part of any site plan agreement. I'm struggling to understand, after having spoken with your consulting planner and also with the manager of planning for the county of Perth, why this holding provision is actually a logical or required process. I have not received a satisfactory answer from either of those individuals at this point. We will be going through site plan bringing forward when the applicant does do a next building. As I explained to your retained planner, we're showing 2 buildings that are proposed with a maximum area. That could well become 3 buildings over time and be modified. So it seems appropriate to me that we bring this forward at such time as they have a more definitive plan. We'll spend the money to get all the documentation, including stormwater management and engineering, done at that point, similar to what was done in the 2018 new freestanding building that was completed in 2019 on site, and we were involved with that as well. So we request that you give consideration to not having the holding provision. We understand we'll have an amended site plan. We understand that we need to go through site plan agreement process and either do a new one or an amended one, as is wished. It's standard procedure in all municipalities. What's confusing at this point is holding provisions with no specifics other than something that automatically gets addressed through site plan process. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Michelle, would you like to reply to his question?
Yeah, through you, your worship. That's definitely understood, Brian. And in our consideration of this application, we just want to make sure that we're providing you and the owner with the most appropriate zoning for your lands, and one that would not require you then to, in the future, have to make various amendments to the zoning bylaw again if there are additional changes that need to be made through the site plan process that would warrant significant changes to the site.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Any more questions from members of council? Andrew?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So what is the effect of having the holding requirement due to the process as far as timelines? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to lengthen it? What exactly will this provision do to the development timeline?
Who would like to answer that?
Through your worship, I guess I'll take a stab at this. The holding provision would only require a bylaw to be passed by council, and that could be taken the same day as, for example, the site plan agreement that would come forward and the signing bylaw for the site plan agreement. So there is, in my view, there would be no added time or delay. Yes, I do acknowledge there'd be another application to lift the hold. But as Brian would know, the only person or only party that has a right of appeal to a lifting of a hold is the applicant. So it is really a procedural matter, and we felt perhaps Brian is right. In the past, a hold was never applied. I won't comment on why that was in the past. I wasn't involved. I would say I probably would have at the time. But in this instance, we don't have any timeframes for when the site plan is coming forward. We have a concept. That's about it. was submitted as a site plan, but that wasn't really the formal site plan application. So until we have something definitive in our hands, yes, we can approve this, but there's still, until we know exactly where these buildings are, how many buildings. We're hearing now that perhaps it's going to be 3 buildings. So it's still up in the air. And so, and that could be a number of years. And that's fine, but we just want to make sure that what you're approving this evening has a bit of control on it. And really, it's we can't impose conditional zoning. This is the only way we can do it, is through a hold. So long-winded answer to your question, but I don't think it'll add more time to the process.
Okay, Andrew?
No, thank you very much. So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, is this may actually help the proponent later in the game, because it'll encompass kind of what's been discussed to date. Is that correct? Or
it can, but it also protects the township, knowing that, okay, what you're approving today will represent the use that is going to be built there.
Okay, any more questions? I just have one, just by that last comment you made. Is that not made though when the site plan? Like, we have control over the site plan, whether we can pass it or not pass it. So I'm just a little confused why we want this hold on it, because if we don't pass the site plan, they can't go ahead anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. It is, there is you do have the authority over the site plan, but again, it's just another, we're hesitant to approve this outright until there is a site plan, because perhaps if it is approved, there may be encroachments of things occurring without a site plan. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but I'm just, suggesting there may be issues that may arise over time. We don't have a time frame for when this application is coming forward. So this property can sit with the zoning for 10 years, and who knows what happens within that time frame. So it just gives you that added check and balance with respect to the process.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from members of council? Seeing no questions, council will consider a resolution regarding the planning report recommendation following the conclusion of the virtual public meeting. Bylaw number 218/2020 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. Okay, and now we'll move on to our third public meeting. This virtual public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Patrick and Jane Fern. Lot 41, Concession 8, Southeast Hope Ward, 3237 Road 112, Route 2, Stratford. And I'm not going to go through all the preamble as I did once before, and we're just going to jump to Louisa. So Louisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd be pleased to provide a summary of this application as well. Application Z19-2020 concerns the lands municipally known as 3237 Road 112. The property owner has submitted, similar to the previous application that I presented, this property owner has also submitted the zoning bylaw amendment application to satisfy a standard condition of approval imposed by the County of Perth relating to consent application B30/20. This application was to sever a residence deemed surplus as a result of a farm consolidation. A County of Perth application, consent application B3020 was approved by the county's manager of planning through delegated authority granted pursuant to County of Perth bylaw 3761/2020. Consent application B3020 resulted in the creation of a severed surplus farm dwelling lot with an area of 1.14 hectares or 2.81 acres and a retained farm lot of 41.17 hectares or 101.73 acres. The drafted bylaw would rezone the severed surplus farm dwelling and the retained farmland in the necessary zones of the Perth zoning bylaw in accordance with county policy requirements and would satisfy the condition of consent from this consent application B3020. In addition, no comments have been received from the public in opposition to this proposed zoning bylaw, and similarly, comments received with respect to the proposed land use had been previously received through the consent application process and circulation process and were negligible or minor in nature. That concludes my summary of this application. I am available to answer any questions of council or the public, should there be any.
Okay, thanks, Louisa. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application. No one registered to make a presentation or to speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. The applicant or the applicant's agent did not register to speak in respect of the application. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing no questions, council will consider a resolution regarding the plan and report recommendation follow the conclusion of the virtual public meeting. Bylaw number 219/2020 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered lately within the council agenda. The virtual public meeting is now concluded and will continue with the regular meeting of council. Okay, so we're going back to 7.1.1, the zoning bylaw amendment. We have a motion that the council of the Township of Perth East receive the report dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the consulting planner entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment number Z17-2020-PE by 4052595 Canada Inc., Don Borison, affecting lands particularly described as Lot 3, Concession 4, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 4109, line 39, and that council approve zoning bylaw amendment number 217/2020. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy, second by Hugh. Is there any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, the second resolution for 7.1.2. Council of the Township of Perth East received the report dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the consulting planner entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment number Z18-2020 by 2142945 Ontario Inc., care of Ryan Frey, affecting lands particularly described as Part Lot 9, Concession 14, Mornington Ward, 8082, Road 129, Perth East Township, and that council approve zoning bylaw amendment number 218-2020. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and the third public meeting, 7.1.3, that the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the consulting planner entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment number Z19-2020-PE by Patrick Fern and Jane Eli Fern, and affecting lands particularly described as Lot 41, Concession 8, Southeast Hope Ward, Township of Perth East, 3237, Road 112, and that council approved zoning bylaw amendment number 219-2020. Moved by Andrew, second by Jeremy. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're going to move to public hearings, and we do have one public hearing. Council will now temporarily adjourn to sit as a committee of adjustment pursuant to Section 45 of the Planning Act. I now declare this virtual public hearing open. This virtual public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Jess and Katrina Cunningham and described as part of Lot 415, Plan 363, Milverton Ward, 8 Edward Street. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Due to COVID-19, public hearing procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, February 1st, 2021 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. Any person present who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer at this time. An appeal to the local planning tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed with the Secretary Treasurer not later than February 22nd, 2021. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call Michelle to present the planning report and recommendations. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Agates, committee members. The subject minor variance application is seeking relief from the zoning bylaw in order to construct an addition to the existing dwelling in the form of a garage. This will result in a minor deficiency from the zoning bylaw. So the property is designated residential in the Milverton official plan and is zoned residential medium density R2. The subject property is located at the corner of Edward Street and Ty Street with frontage along Edward Street and is addressed 8 Edward Street. So this addition is proposed on the northeast side of the existing detached dwelling, with the front wall of the addition proposed in line with the wall of the existing residential dwelling. And so this would result in a front yard setback of 6 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 7.5 meters. So the specific relief sought would result in a reduction of approximately 1.5 meters from what is currently required in the zoning bylaw. So the proposed garage, in accordance with the section 45 sub 1 of the Planning Act, the review of a minor variance requires that the committee apply for specific tests, and an analysis of each of these tests has been provided in detail in this report. So I won't go over that, but I will just note that there is an awning over the existing driveway that currently provides partial covering over the driveway. So this proposed addition is desirable and appropriate for the use of the lands as a residential property. In addition, the proposed meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw as a residential property with lands designated and zoned residential. And this variance, as I mentioned, is minor in nature and will not have a substantial impact on the public realm along Edward Street, which is the intent of the front yard setback. And so public notice was also provided for this application and no comments were received from the public. In addition, the application was circulated to various agencies and no comments of concern were received from agencies. As such, planning staff recommend that this minor variance application be approved, subject to the conditions that have been identified within the report. And that concludes my summary of this minor variance application, but should there be any questions or comments, I am free to answer questions.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Applicant Katrina Cunningham is registered to speak in respect to the application. Katrina, are you with us tonight?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. The floor is yours.
We have no comment. We're just here to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions from the committee members? Seeing no questions, the committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. The motion is that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment receive the report dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the consulting planner entitled Minor Variance Application Number A14-2020 PE by Jesse and Katrina Cunningham, affecting lands described as Plan 363, Lot 415, Milverton Ward, or 8 Edward Street, and that the Perth East Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application A14-2020 PE to permit an addition to the existing dwelling in the form of a garage and living space with a front yard setback of 6 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 7.5 meters, and that the approval shall be subject to the following conditions: that the owner/applicant complete construction of the proposed structure within 1 year from the date or decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official, ensuring that the approved variance applies only to the proposed addition and which is to be situated as illustrated with the application, and that the owner/applicant construct the proposed addition in the location as identified on the plan submitted with the application. So do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Jerry, second by Jeremy. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, I declare this virtual public hearing closed. Okay, now we'll move on to reports and we'll move to planning. And our first one is Robert McTavish inquiry, and I'll turn it over to Susanna.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I have been provided with correspondence from a delegation by Mr. McTavish, dated Wednesday, December 9th. I prepared a planning report in response to the delegation that Mr. McTavish had provided. It's with regards to Part Lot 20, Concession 5, Northeast Hope, and the zoning of that property in 2013, which was changed from an institutional zone to a special agricultural zone. The planning report is in your package, as well as the report that was prepared by Jeff Vanderbaren of the Perth County Planning Department in 2013. And I'm available to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, any questions on this report? Carol?
So essentially, if anything, we're in better shape than we were before based on this report, correct? You know, when it was the institutional and now where we are, it's better probably than the way it was. And I guess it's a good thing. We're sitting good, and that's important. It's unique, and I feel his concerns, Mr. McTavish's, but it looks like there was some good work done in the first place and consideration, and if anything, it's in better favor for him. So that's a good thing.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report prepared by Susanna Reed, planner, entitled Bob McTavish Inquiry, part of Lot 20, Concession 5, Northeast Hope, dated February 2nd, 2021, for information. Moved by Andrew, second by Daryl. Is there any more questions? All in favor? Carried. You have anything else for Susanna?
No, not at this time.
Okay, great. Thanks for your report. We'll move on to CAO, the Climate Change Coordinator. Teresa? Oh, sorry, Hugh's got a question.
We'll be sending a letter to Bob, right, and this report, we'll be sending it to him, right?
Ashley, do you want to answer that? I believe it will.
Sure, I can. Yeah. Mr. McTavish has already received the report. Susanna maybe can speak to it a little more if she wants, but that was emailed to him on Friday. So we'll just follow up with him and let him know that council received the report for information.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Susanna, do you have anything to add?
Yes, just simply to confirm what Ashley's offered. And I spoke to Mr. McTavish twice, once today and once yesterday. And I also sent him additional information. I don't know if he's here tonight. Is he? No. Yeah, I was expecting to see him actually.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we will move on to CAO and the Climate Change Coordinator. Teresa?
Okay, thank you. So as outlined in the report, and as council are aware, in 2019, a climate change coordinator was hired for a 2-year contract. And that's actually shared between the member municipalities, so North Perth, West Perth, Perth South, Perth East, as well as the County of Perth, Town of St. Mary's, and the City of Stratford. With that, with the 2-year contract, there was funding available through FCM, so 80% of that position was covered. And basically, the coordinator was hired to develop a community-wide GHG emissions reduction plan for all of those municipalities. Basically, the project itself is quite large, and the climate control coordinator not only works to prepare that plan, but they work in coordination with community groups, community outreach, businesses to prepare a report, a plan, and an implementation plan. As well, our staff have been working with the coordinator for some of our projects. And I did actually send out to council as well some of the benefits, additional benefits that we have through having this coordinator. And those include with grant applications, having a plan could enhance our funding opportunities, energy conservation plans. So working with our staff to ensure that we have those plans up to date. Their resource and their expertise has been extremely helpful. And asset management plan must, as part of it, basically we must consider the climate change as well in that. So ultimately, at this point, because it is such a large project, it takes in 7 municipalities. A plan and a report and a plan will be forthcoming, hopefully in the near future, as well as all those other resources for us. We're asking, staff are requesting that the contract be extended, just so that this work can be complete. And we have this resource available as well.
Okay, questions, Daryl?
I guess for me, one of the concerns is council is supposed to be involved with this along the way, and it's been pretty quiet. And now I'm assuming there's going to be a pretty juicy plan there. And to dissect that and ensure when you're measuring climate and greenhouse gases, it's a little more complex sometimes than what I'd like to admit. And it's going to be interesting. I feel there's going to be special meetings of council and everything, because as much as, yes, it is our duty to ensure we are doing what we can, we have to look at things, and money will cost a lot. And when you're measuring greenhouse gas emissions and how they'll bring it forward, may take some time. And it's going to be interesting to see what's coming forward. But again, we were supposed to be involved a little more than what we were, that's for sure. And it's a little frustrating.
And so in terms of that, in response to Councillor Hurlick's comment regarding council involved, as part of the requirement under FCM, there needed to be a resolution endorsed by council with a staff representative, as well as a council representative. So the staff representative is our operations coordinator, and our council representative is actually Councillor Hurlick. So with that, in terms of the information coming forward to council, in terms of that involvement, I see that the council yourself, Councillor Hurlick, will be involved when we do actually have that information in terms of a draft plan. So to date, in terms of the collection of information, there's been a lot of administrative work has taken place in terms of, as indicated, in terms of contacting basically agencies, organizations, businesses, and also the survey. There was a large survey that was promoted, and it ran from November until December 23rd. And I know December 23rd seems like quite a ways back in history, but in reality, just taking that information and evaluating what has come in. And it's not only just for one municipality, it's the 7 municipalities. And ultimately what will happen coming forward with the report and the plan, it will be specific to council will be giving direction in terms of seeing that plan, what's being brought forward, and it will be at the direction of each individual council.
Okay, other questions, Amanda?
Just more so some comments, and then Teresa, I'm happy to get your response. Going back, if I recall correctly, this initiative and funding was actually under the previous government, I believe, and it was something that we're able to carry out and take advantage of the opportunity. And certainly, I think we all saw value given the fact that that a large portion of the position was going to be funded. I remember at the time sort of being hard pressed to sort of see the value in that. I have got some comments from constituents in my ward, farmers in particular, that are quite concerned given some of the directions that are happening at other levels of government with regarding greenhouse gas emissions and sort of these plans. And certainly I'm very supportive of the role in the last 2 years, and seeing, as you pointed out, Teresa, some of the value that this person has been able to bring forward. But I'm going to be pretty hard pressed to support this again. This is a 2-year contract. In my view, if I was given a 2-year contract to complete work, I would expect that work would be completed. And so I can't support it for those reasons. But certainly, appreciate all the work that has been done on the file. Just have some really concerns about the wording in terms of, extending the contract for the work to be completed. It was 2 years, and then the fact that it could be perhaps extended into 2022. I just don't really see an end to the extensions. And again, given the feedback that I've got from people in my ward, farmers of expressing concern, and again, to Councillor Herlich's point that, we have not been given much details in terms of progress on this particular file, and therefore I will not be supporting it.
Okay, other questions, Hugh?
Not really a question, but I share Councillor Broadhead's concern that there's no end date on this, that it seems to be taking on to its life of its own. I agree it's a huge project, and again, there's been, especially within the farm community, some of the way those questions were asked, and I did do the survey, and some of the results they seem to be aiming for certainly weren't farmer friendly, that's for sure. So other than that, it was just an observation. Thank you.
Okay, Andrew?
Double click mouse again here, sorry. I do understand some of the points definitely from the report about the improved funding eligibility. We have to check some boxes for the higher levels of government and qualify. I scribbled down my notes here. Is there a perceived end date, and what will happen after the project is completed? Will it just go into the daily workflow of management team and staff, or what's the the long term after the project completion? What's the vision for that?
Okay, so one of the things that has been produced in terms of a community, a conservation and management plan. So basically that one, and the coordinator has helped in terms of updating this plan as well. So basically that report, it addresses basically all of our, I'm going to go back to Councillor McAlpine's question in regarding to an end date and what will happen after that. Basically, we need to have our plan in place, and then if I compare it to the conservation management plan that we have, basically that's an inventory of all of our facilities, the square footage. Basically, it takes into account the days of operation, the energy types purchased, and looks at annually, basically what we're using in terms of energy, where we can look in terms of savings. And that plan itself is something that our managers, the Perth East managers, look at in terms of those facilities that they are responsible for. So that once these plans are in place, then it's certainly more user friendly for the managers who are in charge of those different areas.
Andrew?
No, thanks. Thanks for the follow-up. Just a quick follow-up. So there will be some cost benefits to this in the long run. We're hoping is that the hope is that we will see some, some payback on the efforts for this. I worry about it also with some of the other concerns with turning into a full-time permanent position eventually. So that's why I'm going down this road. And we
Right.
can look at that, but it doesn't start that way, and I'd like it not to end that way if we can complete it in a time we have an idea when the time, and there'll be some benefit to the taxpayer, then I think I can support this if that seems to be the direction. An open-ended, open-ended, it may take many years. I'm not sure. We need to word that differently to satisfy everyone, I think. So thank you. Right.
And so just in response to your comments regarding the time frame. So ultimately this is in terms of working together in a joint project like this, rather than individually going out and seeking someone to do this work for us. And that's why part and parcel that it was a joint venture and shared between the seven municipalities. So, and there we are looking at an end date because it is a contract position.
Okay, first, Jerry had his hand up. Jerry, did you have a question?
Yeah, sure. Just to confirm, I know I had some concerns with this back in 2019, the length, time. So as we've already indicated, Campbell's indicated that if we extended it, it's till December 31st, 2021 with this motion. We don't want to, if we pull ourselves out now, we have spent some, not a whole lot, but I wouldn't want to be excluded from the final report, having the other 6 municipalities that if they stay on board. So I would hope at least to stay on board till the December 31st, and I would hope that we have this report by then. That's just what I like to say.
Okay, so I'll go to Amanda next and then Daryl. Amanda?
I guess I just want to get some more insight, and Teresa, perhaps you can provide some context, and given the fact that this is a sort of shared position with a number of neighboring municipalities. So the original contract, it was supposed to be up at the end of this month. So this is being brought forward to us in the month that it is supposed to be completed, 4 weeks remaining on the contract. At what point, did was there indication that the work was not going to be completed, and why is it coming to council so late in the game? It's very concerning because, I mean, to Jerry's point, I would absolutely love to see the work, and certainly there's value in the work that has been done and we have put money towards it. But at the same time, I have a hard time justifying it and the fact that it's being brought to council at this stage. And certainly I can appreciate that we're not the only municipality involved. And so perhaps, you know, we didn't get those details, but I mean, certainly, I mean, I've done contract work in my private profession, and there's work plans, and, you know, if you're not meeting your deadlines, you know, you can part ways, right? And so it's in the private sector, that's what happens. And so this is why I'm really struggling with it, that, you know, this is being brought to us so late in the game. So I'm just trying to get some more information as to the context and timing, and at what point did we realize that certainly there was a large undertaking that this person has done, and the information they've collected, and that it wouldn't be ready in time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Regarding it, just to go back to when this was actually approved, one of the comments that I believe came from FCM was basically that with a project this size with 7 municipalities, certainly it was very ambitious. So that being said, in terms of when, in terms of timing, the CAOs met, and members, representatives from basically the at a staff level, in terms they had met in January. So basically that's when it came forward, and it was asked that collectively that council, the actual municipal councils consider extending it, that we wouldn't be able to have the results for the report.
Okay, Daryl, and then Jeremy. Daryl?
Yeah, long story short, we got to stay in the game here now. I think we should semi-annually review this position, if not quarterly. We're going to have some work ahead of us and some dissecting. I know it already how this goes. I feel it could end up being pushy. I don't want to make those allegations, but I have my concerns. I struggle with the whole year review in the renewal of the contract. And I believe quarterly or semi-annually, it needs to be reviewed by all municipalities and talked about again. Thank you.
Okay, Jeremy?
Yeah, I don't think we've really heard much about this along the whole process. Like everyone's saying here, this is not a thing that was directed for us to have to do, like the asset management plan. This is something that we've done electively because we were given a grant to do it. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Daryl, you're sitting on this group, or you're supposed to be our representative there. Are you getting regular updates on this, or can you bring them to us on a monthly basis, or how is that going for you then? Are you not being kept up to date?
Yeah, no, nothing much. No, people, nothing that I'm aware of.
So what do we have in place to keep this person on task to make sure that the work is done by the end of the year? What do we have? How can we make sure that gets done, that we're not extending this? We're not being asked to extend this into 2022. Like, we need some more, do we need more people to be watching what's actually happening, or?
There is work being done, and perhaps we could have a report come to council shortly in terms of basically an update in terms of where we are now, we are very close to having a report coming forward. So we can certainly have an update
Right. And that
provided to council.
wasn't me criticizing what's happening, but I think for a lot of us here, it's gone on for 2 years and we just haven't seen the progress at all. So I think that would really help ease my mind when we're shelling out another $8,000, is to make sure that we can see that there is something actually going on when we haven't seen it for a couple of years.
Okay, so then how would you like the motion to be worded? Jeremy?
I'll move that we jump on board till the end of 2021.
So you want that last part out with the potential for extension in 2022? You want that taken off?
Well, I think they're going to come to us if they need an extension to 2022, and we can just say no.
So you want that off, or you want it left there?
Take it off.
Okay, so we have that moved by Jeremy. Do we have a seconder? Jerry? Okay, so the motion before us is that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the Climate Change Coordinator Contract Extension Report prepared by the CAO dated February 2nd, 2021 for information, and that the council approve entering into a new local partnership agreement with the municipality of North Perth, municipality of West Perth, Township of Perth South, County of Perth, Town of St. Mary's, and City of Stratford for the shared services of the Climate Change Coordinator for the period of March 1, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Comments, Daryl?
At this point, I believe a semi-annual review and renewal would be what I would like to see. So I won't be voting in favor of the way it is, but I would be willing to negotiate. Thank you.
Okay, Amanda?
Just a comment, I guess. I won't be supporting this, but certainly if it does go forward, it would be good to see a work plan. Certainly that's been my experience doing contract work and being held accountable for deadlines. And second, just a point of clarity, at this point, if I understand correctly, the grant portion is now over. So this extension means that we're putting additional funds towards the role. Is that correct? And if so, what is that amount?
I believe Teresa's looking that up.
Okay, so the grant portion comes to an end, the end of February. And basically the total cost for the 10-month extension would be $8,832.07 per municipality.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I'd be willing to amend the motion to fit what Daryl's suggesting. I think that's something that has to happen anyways. We need to see a report. I know the motion's on the floor already, but I'm willing to amend it to get a report here every 2 months to see what's going on if we have to.
Okay, Jerry, is that good with you? Okay, so then a report, I'll just add that. A report be brought every 2 months to Perth East, starting, and when do you want to see that first report?
Now? Before the end of the month, for sure.
Okay, so starting before February 28th, 21. Okay, is that good? Daryl?
Yeah, so we'll be recommending that that's what we would like to see, basically monthly reports and semi-annual review, and we'll recommend that to the rest of the councils and townships in the county.
Right now, we're recommending that it be extended, and we're asking for reports every 2 months.
Extended 6 months, right? Yeah.
We're saying that we're going to, for the period of March 1st to December 31st. That's more than 6 months. That's 9 months. Is it not?
That's that's a 10-month period.
10 months.
they're asking
10
for.
months. Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. Andrew?
No, I appreciate some of the arguments. It's amazing the brain power we get going on some of these smaller, these $800 items along the way. They seem to be more contentious than a couple more decimal places. But no, some very good comments. I'm going to reluctantly support this because I think it's a good plan to finish this off. And we've got heightened awareness on this right now. So that's a good thing. And I'm going to support the carry on for this limited time.
Okay, any more? Amanda?
Just a request to record a vote on this, please.
Okay, we'll have a recorded vote. So we will start with Deputy Mayor McDermott.
No.
Councillor Broadhagen?
Nay.
Councillor Hurrick?
Nay.
Councillor McAlpine?
Yay.
Councillor Matheson?
Yay.
Councillor Smith?
Yay.
And Mayor Agates? Yay. So the motion did pass. We will make sure that they are aware of our concerns and tell them that we need what we need to have done. So we will let them be aware of that. Just so you know, North Perth and West Perth voted for this last night, and Perth South deferred it. And we're not sure how long they deferred it to, but they deferred it this morning. So thank you, and we'll move on. So Teresa, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, clerk, nothing. Finance, nothing. Public Works. The first item on Public Works is a streetlight spacing assessment. So Wes, the floor is yours.
So this is for information from a correspondence that we had received. If there's any questions.
Okay, is there any questions for Wes? Jeremy?
I don't see in the report how far apart the lights are in the particular instance that we're discussing here. Maybe I missed it, but I read it a couple times and I couldn't locate that. So how far is it apart?
I believe it's 95 meters. Not 100% sure. That was something that was an oversight on my part.
Okay, did you get that, Jeremy? 95 meters? Okay, we're getting some back. You're sounding like Darth Vader there, Wes. Okay, any more questions on this report?
I appreciate the report, Wes. It's kind of dull stuff, but it's important stuff. I think the requester understands the costs and the dynamics of what would happen if we start opening this type of thing up. Is it possible for people to request, not in this case, but in some case, like a local area improvement or have streetlights installed, at their own cost type of thing, like a street, just kind of a side thing? Is that something that can be done also without affecting everybody requesting to have their street lined with lights? I know we do it with signs, so I'm just wondering if it's possible with lights.
I guess I've never heard of it. It would probably, the electrical connection would be one of the big things. Where you're going to connect, you would have to basically go into the street, and I think that would be a problem.
Okay, Daryl?
Oh, two things here. How about the solar? You see them with solar backup. There's no panel. You justifiable enough to hang off a post and run a light. Is there, Wes? that you're aware of. I see it like a backup idea, I believe, or to help supplement, but there's no solar panels running street lights. Totally, is there?
Yes, there is. The lights coming into Melverton that light up the welcome to Melverton is actually run totally by solar. So there is that out there. It's a little more expensive, that's for sure.
Okay, I didn't know if a street like that big, what's required for the required wattage, if there would be one big enough, but maybe there is. It would be something to look into if we need a one-off here and there.
Yeah, we can definitely look into the cost for solar.
You know what, maybe it might be an idea. I think, yeah.
Okay, Jeremy?
I think the other thing to consider here is having a maximum distance between the lights. Like you were saying, the average is 60. This one in this instance is clearly, it's 55%, 60% wider than the average. So that's something that we consider moving forward too. Like we're not going to stick up 192 fixtures and 60 new poles, but having one that's 95 meters when the average is 60, that is considerable. And I think that is it's a pretty wide dead spot for a dark area, especially when there's 5 or 6 houses in the middle. So I think that's something to think about too, or consider, is that some of these areas that are 100 meters or 106 meters, I think I read was the highest one, that almost puts them just below the average if we were able to install a couple in there. I'm not sure exactly how we would do that, but it seems like some of them are a little too far apart.
Okay, Andrew, you had your hand up again?
Thank you. Just for some context, I think what generated the original discussion was the announcement by the province of some funding that got into the local newspaper, and it was the community kind of said, hey, that'd be great. We need some more lighting. Clearly, there's some gaps, but being an electrician and a couple other trades, I can't remember what they are these days, but correct me if I'm wrong, Wes, but as the standards change, they improve. Usually, like with ground faults in houses and arc electrical outlets and that in bedrooms now, everything improves. So I'm quite confident that everything was constructed as it should be at the time of the kind of construction. So it's just one of these things where, it's things progress and some of these subdivisions are older, right? So.
Okay, any more questions? If not, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Streetlight Spacing Assessment dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information. Moved by Jerry, second by Darrell. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, next item on our agenda is a winter maintenance modernization report. All yours, Wes.
So this was some funding that we received from the government, and basically some of the findings, not a whole lot of savings as far as the report goes. There's some things that we can definitely look at going forward with the member municipalities and the county, as some weather monitoring and some software, cost sharing and that type of thing. But basically, at the end of the day, they said there wasn't a whole lot of savings.
Okay, is there any questions for Wes in this report? Hugh?
No, I'd just like to congratulate on the job that you guys in the county do. I mean, you guys have been working on this for years to save money and do things, and the report pretty well says that, except for some things that I consider kind of minor, you guys have been doing a good job, so I congratulate you on that.
Okay, thanks, Hugh. And I think we all at council here echo what Hugh just said. You do a great job and had an awful lot of information to put into it. So we thank you for all that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Winter Maintenance Modernization, final report dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the link to the presentation of Perth County Winter Modernization by CIMA within the Perth County Council meeting on November 19, 2020 for information. So moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. Is there any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and the next report is on household hazardous waste. Wes?
So we have an agreement with the city of Stratford. We've had it for quite a few years. It's been a good project or a good agreement. It saved us a considerable amount of money over the years. Years ago, it used to be a one-day thing where now we have 3 days where people can drop things off. So it's been a good project, and recommend that we extend the agreement.
Okay, is there any questions for Wes on this? See no questions, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Household Hazardous Waste Agreement Renewal dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that confirmed by this resolution, staff be authorized to execute a 3-year renewal with the City of Stratford for the provision of household hazardous waste disposal services as per section 5.2 of bylaw 06-2018, and that 3 readings be given to bylaw 04-2021, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 06-2018. Moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. Is there any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Anything else, Wes?
No, thank you.
Great, thanks, Wes. Nothing from building?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thanks. Recreation, we have 2 reports. The 2020 Youth Grant. Becky? It's all yours. Uh-oh, your sound is awful. Worse than Wes.
Becky, you sound like Wes.
I don't know, turn it off and turn it on maybe? Not a whole lot.
Hello? No. Should I log off and come back?
Do you want to log off? Okay, so we'll while Becky's doing that, we'll jump down to fire and pre-budget approval for the Stephenville Fire Station. So Bill, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, how do I sound?
Perfect.
Okay, super. So this report that's before council is requesting pre-budget approval to pay for the installation of the full-length steel roof ice guards that we mentioned at the first budget meeting at the Stephenville station. The original plastic guards were installed 13 years ago, and they've all failed and fallen off the building. And I'll gladly answer any questions from council.
Okay, is there any questions for Bill on this report? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive a report entitled Pre-Budget Approval, Stephenville Fire Station Roof Ice Guards dated February 2nd, 2021, prepared by the Fire Chief for information, and that Council of the Township of Perth East authorize pre-budget approval to pay for the installation of roof ice guards at the Stephenville Fire Station, this to be included in the 2021 Fire Department budget. Moved by Amanda, second by Andrew. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. You have anything else, Bill? No? Thanks.
No, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. So Becky's back on and we will go back to Becky. So Becky, the floor is yours.
Is that better sound?
Perfect.
Alrighty. Okay. So as council is aware, we allot annually $12,000 to youth associations that run programs on behalf of the township. The amount that gets allocated to each organization is based on registration. Since this year they didn't have any programs, there was no, at this point there hasn't been any money distributed because we did not have registration numbers. I'm recommending that we still do give these organizations funds just because they had to still maintain the properties, for example, grass cutting and that sort of thing. So it's up to council if they would like to do that, and if so, how they would like that money distributed. I'll point out that Millbank, for example, looks after the 2 ball diamonds and park there. However, they don't have a minor association, so they never get any of this money. But yet they still have those weekly expenses the same as the other groups.
Okay, questions for Becky, Amanda?
Thank you, Becky. I would absolutely, I would support that we would move forward on that. I guess, so you've already provided a report, but I guess, noting your comment regarding the one association, and I guess I would just want to get a better sense of what, if council were to support giving these groups money, what that would look like in terms of the breakdown. I guess, I don't know if you're able to speak to that a little in more depth or not.
In the recommendations, we could just divide it out evenly amongst the groups. We could take the registration numbers based on 2019, the numbers we had there. So it's really at council's discretion how they want it divvied up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jerry?
So yeah, and with recommendation, there's 5, 4, 3, whatever one. If we divide it amongst everyone equally, I don't want to give an organization that has 200 participants and one that has 50 participants. And this year we're going to divide it up equally. There's that to think about. Is there not Milverton Minor Ball also pays for operating or helping township property? Not just Millbank? Becky?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Milverton always gets money the same as Kincora, Newton, Stephenville, and Shakespeare based on their registration numbers. Millbank does not ever get any money because they don't have any minor association.
And Rostock would be in that same as Millbank, would they not? Rostock Ballpark?
No, because it's not they don't have, sorry. Yeah, they do have one team, I think. Depends on the year.
Yeah. Jerry?
So I think it would just make sense to do number 3, to disperse it according to the 2019 numbers. And if Millbank needs some help, Rostock needs some help, Minor Ball needs help, maybe that's separate. I think if we, to be fair, again, if somebody has 200 and somebody has 50, we don't want to show favoritism. And I think the groups would be more than happy to take what they got in 2019.
Okay, anyone else question, Amanda?
I mean, that would certainly be the easiest route for sure. But I guess my concern is, given the fact that groups like Millbank and Rostock do like maintenance, and they wouldn't traditionally get those funds. And I think we need to recognize, especially with Millbank, like we have to recognize that those groups are still maintaining township property. So I don't know what that would look like if we were able to loop those 2 groups in. I don't know if I want to deal with that separately. I'd want to make sure that they're all included.
Okay, any more questions? Andrew?
Just a clarification. So Millbank does not have a youth component to their recreation field.
No.
Yeah, I would just make the comment that it's always, we don't need to continue the direction, but we have to use limited resources. I'd like to keep it with use as it has been in the past. And I think that some of these more established ones are good at planning what they do, and we need to, give them a boost in these times, and hopefully we can actually get the kids outside and doing something productive this summer. So I'm with Councillor Smith to keep it the same formula for this year at least, and possibly we can discuss it during visioning session if we can to make any changes for next time.
Okay, Jerry?
So just to confirm though with Millbank, they haven't had anything for 5 years maybe?
Yeah, it's been a number of years where they haven't had youth.
During those 5 years, we've never gave them help for the diamond maintenance. They've never requested help for the diamond maintenance. So again, if they need help, maybe come to us separately, but I think if we do the 2019 numbers, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so Jerry, do you want to make a motion then?
Sure, I move that we go with option 3 there. The grant be dispersed according to 2019 registration numbers.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Amanda? Okay, so the motion is that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the 2020 Youth Grant Report prepared by the Recreation and Community Services Manager dated February 2nd, 2021 for information, and that the youth grant be dispersed by number 3, grant to be dispersed according to 2019 registration numbers. Any more questions, comments? All in favor of that? Carried. Okay, the second item Becky has is the ice resurfacer.
Okay.
Floor is
so
yours.
Thanks. Just doing a comparison between, as council is aware that we're soon going to be needing to replace our ice resurfacer. We were lucky, I guess, in the sense that we didn't have as many hours on it this year. So that saved, kind of extended its life a little bit longer. In comparing the gas and the electric, the electric certainly has more benefits to it, other than the fact that the initial cost is quite a bit higher than the initial cost of a propane unit. So it's whether or not you want to put that money out front to purchase the unit, or to save with a lesser cost. So there's just some breakdowns there of the energy costs and that, and take any questions.
Okay, questions, Daryl? Daryl?
Yeah, thanks, Becky. Yeah, no, I do see the convenience of the electric one for sure. Just the propane there, is that $1.20 liters that you have to pay when you buy a propane in the smaller tanks to live it like that? Is that what it is?
So,
or was it 12?
Sorry, I didn't hear
the propane cost. What's the cost of the propane?
So it's the tank, it's $23.99 per tank.
Yeah, and then there's a breakdown there of what it is a liter. Was it $1.20, or am I dreaming? I believe I read that. The breakdown cost.
Yeah.
It seems quite expensive, but it's in a smaller.
Like per flood, it costs us $1.20 in fuel.
Okay, that's what you're doing, $1.20 in fuel. Yeah. I guess for me, I would like to see the cost of a battery replacement in the event, like 8 to 10 years. I believe we'll be able to keep the Zamboni going a little longer than that, especially now that minor hockey, we're sharing with other arenas. 8 to 10 years, only a couple terms of council, and more in the 15. So
yeah, the replacement of the battery is quite expensive if you need to replace it. We're talking like 10 grand or more, but they're saying the life expectancy will be the life expectancy of your unit.
Okay, and Okay, 8 to 10 years. I was just, because our existing Zamboni's older than that, correct?
Correct, our ice resurfacers, yeah.
It's 15 to 20, isn't it? Sure.
It was purchased in 2003.
Okay, so yeah, we're 20 years on it, and it still is running. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have a duty to keep up our fleet and our equipment. Interesting. Does anybody know, is there any reports of people with electric ones in this company? Who has these companies sold the electric ones to? Could we get a little more information there? I like the simplicity of electric. It is a little more money, but hey, it might be simple.
Yeah, West Perth just purchased one. I don't think they have it on fleet yet. Most of the ones that have been replacing them are replacing them with the electric.
Interesting. It definitely is some more money. Boy, I sure hope we get opening things up here, and that families are going to be affording sports the way we always have. Hockey in particular, as it is quite expensive. I'll leave it open for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, no, thanks for the report, Becky. Very clear. And it's not because of the money. I'm leaning towards the gas. We're all set up for it, and healthy and safety wise, I'm guessing the current unit is propane. I have worked on these personally, and DC motors and water and steam and that. Yeah, and not Zambonis, but floor scrubbers, which Zamboni is kind of like a big floor scrubber. Yeah, propane unit in general, I think will be, with the quality they make them today and the lower initial cost. I'm definitely convinced that the propane unit is the right way to go.
Okay, Jeremy?
Are we going to be selling advertising on the side of the unit? We had the unit that's there now, there's advertising on it, right?
Yes, so we would do that again. What we had got, the last purchase was 10,000 with 2 advertisers and 10,000 each. And that's, the contract was written up so that it was for the life of the Olympia ice resurfacer. That's how it's been. So I would do something similar, or $1,000 a year. Might be more, might be easier for businesses to upfront.
Okay, Jerry?
Sounds like a few members are leaning towards propane. Becky, you are recommending the electric unit, but what are you and your staff? Are you comfortable either way?
Yeah, we're comfortable either way. Like I think the big point of the electric is, you have the reduced cost in your maintenance, the environment, that sort of thing is the other thing to look at.
Okay, Daryl?
I think we should move to defer. And could we get a report, Becky? Maybe get a hold of the company. I have used diesel electric, like hybrid models, and there's been good luck that way quite a bit. I'm really stuck. As far as the environment, it's a wash. Propane is so clean. I would just like to see a little more information, like information packaging. Can we get a report of other arenas? Ask the company who, like the longevity, how long has this technology been being used, and just the model in Pacific, how many are out there? It's a big choice here we're making here, and I think we should defer right now and just some more information.
So you're just looking at who has them, how long they've been out, and what else are you asking that I asked?
Yeah, who has them, how long they've been out there around the electric. And hey, I'm not leaning in either way, but I just think, yeah, if we could get some more information on the electric, who has them, how long they've had them, and reviews. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? So this, Becky, they had the electric one, did they not, in Mitchell? Is it
Yeah,
similar?
they've always had an electric one, but it's run by an actual extension cord. So the electric here is a battery that's recharged electrically, and that's what they've are replacing their existing one with.
Okay. Jeremy?
I was a little bit concerned with all the zeros that were on total cost of ownership, electric versus propane, 10-year cost, $136,817. Maybe mine has too many numbers. I was just not understanding exactly what's saying there. Mine says the average running cost per year is $13,669,885. Unless I'm reading that funny, like if it's not spaced correctly. Is anyone else seeing that?
Yeah, I'm seeing it now.
So is the
It should be 13,000.
Pardon me?
Sorry, it should be your average running cost is 13,669, like 13,000.
Right. So in fact, after 10 years, if we keep this unit and we have it on an asset replacement schedule for 10 years, it's $3,500 cheaper to have the electric one.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Some of those numbers, I kept looking at them and that seemed really expensive. You know, we'd be blowing our budget a few times. Okay. All right.
Okay, any more questions? So Daryl suggested that we defer and have staff bring more information back to us. So are you moving that, Daryl?
Yes, on the electric model, just a little more information, how long it's been in production. Have they had this battery model out for 5 or 10 years already? And if they could supply us, if you could do a little legwork, Becky, and ask some other municipalities or cities who are running this model, how it's been, you know. As a farmer, when I look in, farmers do it all the time. Say they're buying a new self-propelled harvester or combine. They know somebody who has one. They'll go into the dealership and say, "Hey, I'm going to pull the work orders on this. I want to see the repair order on your harvester because I'm buying one," and they look at it and see if there's issues. So just something similar like that. Not that in depth, but just
okay.
Municipalities.
Andrew, are you seconding that? Okay. So we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the ice resurfacer gas versus electric report prepared by the Recreation and Community Service Manager dated February 2nd, 2021, and we defer the motion so staff can bring back more information. Gary?
So how long is this going to take to get one ordered? Becky, if we do defer it till hopefully we get, if it passes to be deferred to our February 18th meeting, will it delay? You know, we hope ice gets back in September. Any delays in that if we deferred another couple of weeks, or what's the time?
It's going to take a minimal 1 year for production. So this is pre-budget for 2022.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any more questions? Amanda?
Becky, the quote that that you were able to obtain, how long is that good for? Do you know? Like in terms of, I guess I'm just trying to gauge the urgency of deferring versus making the decision now. I think you've provided some more insight in terms of the length of time it takes to actually order one, but is there any impact that way?
So the price that's in the report is just on a base unit. So it's their base mark as when we're budgeting and that sort of thing. So it's not an actual quote.
So that means it can go up? Is that what you're telling us? And can we
both models?
Can we get an exact amount before we order it? Like, I'd like to know Oh, if it's going to be 100.
Oh, yeah, like we do the tender process and all that. This hasn't been out to tender at all.
No, okay.
But I can't go to tender until I get approval, so.
Okay. Okay, so any more questions on the motion to defer and have Becky bring back more information? Carol?
I'll make it quick. Yeah, I'll make it quick. I believe Becky will probably have pretty good luck strumming this up right now. Arenas are slow. I believe in probably next council meeting, Becky will have some answers within a couple, I'm sure. So I think it's important we get a little more information. Thank you.
Okay. Any more? Anybody else? All in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4. Carried. Okay, thank you. Anything else, Becky?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right. We did fire, so now we'll move to correspondence. So we.
Sorry.
Yes, Jerry.
Sorry, one thing for Perk, and I have it wrote down here if you don't mind for the hall. Just in asking, is that okay, Mayor Agates?
Sure.
Gray Bruce Health Unit have or up there they've approached and they're calling it the hockey hub. So when the vaccinations get rolled out up there, they're using the arenas. They've got a good plan in place. They presented to Mr. Hillier. So is there any plans for here in Perth? Have they approached us or surrounding about using our arena for vaccinations once that comes available?
Yes, it's actually just today we received a request from the health unit asking if we had a suitable site. So that went out to all the members of the county for locations. So we provided them with the Perk as being one, should that be the route they go.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Now we will move on to correspondence. We have a letter from George and Elaine Wick in regards to their drain. And Ashley, do you want to speak to this and just give everybody an update where this drain is at?
Sure, I can do that. So council may recall just a little bit of history on this. This started as a Section 74 request for clean out a couple of years ago. And then out of a closed session meeting on November 5th of 2019, council directed staff to work with a drainage engineer. GM Blue Plan was appointed as the drainage engineer to have this drain restored to its original, how it was originally supposed to be. Right now, there has been slight holdup for COVID related reasons last year with on-site meetings and the restriction of having the meetings. I've worked with GM Blue Plan now to come up with a plan to meet virtually and have the landowners present and have the information they need mailed to them. So there is a meeting now scheduled for February the 10th. I did speak with Mr. Wick. Again, I've spoke with him several times about this, but I just spoke with him this morning as well. So he's aware of the meeting and will be participating. GM Blue Plan's intention is to have a report before council by the end of March. So we do have to have the meeting with the owners, the property owners, landowners that would be affected. So that'll be happening on the 10th. And then we do have to give notice of the report, the official report, final one needs to be prepared for council's approval. So given the timeline with that notice, it's another 10-day period. We would be looking hopefully to the second meeting in March, if not the first meeting in March. And that's just a summary of where we're at. If there's any other questions, though, I can try to answer those.
Hey, Andrew.
That's great. Sounds like the wheels are in motion. Do we need any action on this other than receive for information? Just not ready to do that. That's just my question.
I don't need any further action on it, just receive for information. The next step is to have that on-site meeting, which is scheduled for the 10th. well, it's a virtual on-site meeting.
Okay, Amanda?
Not a question, just a comment. Ashley, thanks so much for the update, and I know you've been on this. Just as the ward rep, this has been an issue that's been going on for 2+ years, and it's been very frustrating for myself and for the landowners involved. So I just want, ask, I know Ashley is on it and our team is on it, just to keep myself updated as how the site plan go, or the virtual meeting goes, just so that I'm in the loop on this. This has been, I feel bad that, he's had to come back and provide another letter, outlining his frustration on the matter. So it's been dragged out for 2 years and it really needs addressed. So thank you, Ashley, for the update. And I know you're on it. So I just ask that I'm included on any happenings.
Okay, anyone else? If not, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from George and Elaine Wick, received January 15th, 2021, regarding repair work to the Rostock Municipal Drain, Ellis Ward, County of Perth, for information. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we'll move on to council and committee reports. My meeting log is there in front of you or in the package. Is there any questions where I've been or what I've been doing? Nope. Okay, other reports, Jerry?
Couple of quick ones. I attended my first GRC meeting. Not a whole lot, kind of a standard, more or less, but it was the first meeting for the new committee. Elected a new chair. That's Chris King, who's the mayor of the Township of Guelph Hermosa. So that was a lot of interesting couple hours. And one other one, the Melbourne Business Association, is reporting for them. The annual meeting there is February 23rd. And one more, maybe Amanda or Jeremy, but I'll do it, address it anyway. The Perth East Twinning Committee, that's still going along. Lots of good press there. We've seen that. Also, not only here in Canada and Ontario, Perth East, but in Germany and Neersheim itself. So that's good. And we are having another little get-together meeting, I believe, on the 22nd of February. So those are my updates. Thank you.
Jerry, and just on the twinning, there's a book that I received. I don't know if you can all receive. It's a gorgeous, beautiful book, all of Germany. I wish I could read German. It's all in German. It is a beautiful book.
We'd have to get Evelyn Mueller to help you out with that.
Yeah.
And we also, this official certificate is now at the library. So when the library gets going again, we're going to hope to have a little display in there with German items as books and so on, along with the certificate. So thanks to Ali for having that in there too. Thanks, Rhonda.
Yeah, well, I hope they get this COVID over with so I can go to Germany. Anyway, okay, anyone else have a report? I have a couple things. Land division, we had the application come to land division last week, the Dan Van Straten property over in line 39, and it was approved by land division. That's the only one there. And then from the county, the budget, we pretty much got the budget done at county council. The bylaw is going through tomorrow, so it went up 3.49%. 1% is 165,000. So on a budget of 16.5 million, I think we did pretty good to get it where it is. Another thing we did at the last county council meeting is we brought a motion forward about the assessments, and we're encouraging the government to go forward with the residential assessments because it's going to put everything out of whack with the tax rates. So we're asking that they look into that, and we are going to send that to all the municipalities. And we also developed a charter on anti-racism and inclusivity, excuse me. And with that, it will collaborate with the community safety and well-being plan. There's a committee set up, and that will give people in the community an opportunity to voice their concerns. We're also going to celebrate Canadian Multiculturalism Day on June 27th, and more will come out on that when it gets a little closer. So is there anything else anyone would like to bring up under reports? If not, we need a motion to receive these verbal reports. Moved by Daryl, second by, what's going on? My Amanda, everybody's jumping around on my screen.
Putting up my hand. Can you see my hand?
Yeah, I see your hand. That's something new.
Rhonda,
That was the update.
I would like to add a little bit to that, Rhonda.
Sure.
My screen's popping all over as well here too. Yeah. You know how that came up there, how we're going to celebrate multiculturalism Day in Canada. I brought that up. That was actually, I don't want to take credit or anything, but it was something I struck off. And I've been over to London to the Sunfest. It's a world culture festival and dance. And that was a couple years back, and I really enjoyed it. And that was something that I strummed up a long time ago already, and it's been kind of quiet, but it'll be a nice taste. Of course, we can't do it the size what London is, but it will be nice. We plan on going around and working with our shop owners, store owners, whether it be a factory worker, a farm worker, of people of different cultures, race, where they're from, and including them and get them to bring us where they're from and their experiences of life in their native land and what it's like here in Canada. So it's a very good move, I believe, and it will be nice. I really enjoy that kind of stuff myself. I'm kind of a culture guy. A lot of people don't know of me, but I do. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have anything? If not, all in favor to receive those verbal reports? Oh, maybe we did vote. Carried. I'm getting confused as the night's going on. Okay, we have bylaws to be read first, second, third, and final time. We have 6 of them. We have bylaw 04-2021 with the households hazardous waste. We have bylaw 05-2021. That's to do with the Ministry of Transportation related to gas tax funds. We have bylaw 101-2021. That's to amend the Signer and Bakery Municipal Drain 2019 Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East. We have bylaw 2017-2020, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999 for lot 3 concession 4 Ellis Ward. We have bylaw 2018-2020. That's a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999 for part of lot 9 concession 14 in the Mornington Ward. And we have bylaw 2019-2020 to amend bylaw 30-1999, and that's for lot 41 concession 8 Southeast Hope Ward. So a mover and a seconder for those bylaws to be read a first, second, third, and final time. Moved by Andrew, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have need for a closed session, so with your permission, we'll move it down in our agenda. Do we have any notice of motions? Carol?
Yeah, no, I'll just bring it up here. Next council, I hope to have it carved together here, but I feel the time is more urgent than ever that the province and the country, for that matter, recognize the urgency that we begin to restructure and how we look at the healthcare for our seniors as our population is entering a very unique time, aging population being an issue. So I'll be chalking up a bit of a motion here that I hope to get some support from council, and that we talk to the province and share that the province has to act in a new manner of how to handle all the sick and elderly people that we are going to be influxed with over the next 20 years. It's huge. It's begun to be a problem already, and I don't hear enough. And they need to realize how big a problem this is going to be and start strumming up ideas how we can act and handle this and implement some more criteria. They're dawdling around with it and not really recognizing it. And to be honest, it's a bigger issue than we're ever going to expect. So I'll have that for next meeting. Just to bring that up if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have a notice of motion? New business? Announcements? I just have a couple things. One, I think everyone has seen our community guide that's been out, and I just want to thank staff for all the hard work they did on this. It's an excellent book, and it certainly depicts our municipality very, very well. So thank you, everyone who worked on that. I know Ashley worked hard on that, and some others helped her out. So thanks again for that. And I also want to thank staff for being so organized tonight. You probably noticed we're all at home. There's none of us in the office at all. We've all come out of our own homes, and they sent this box today, and it's got labels and stickers, and it's all so organized. So it's really been great. Thank you for making my life so much easier tonight. So with that, thanks, staff. It's great to see all of you. We do have need for a closed session. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight, and stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you all next time. And if everybody would like to take a 5-minute break, it's 9:11. So at 9:15, we're going to come back on for